Welcome back. Good to have you with us here on the South African Morning. I'm Gareth Edwards. Now, it seems we're all going to have to tighten our belts even more. Stats SA are going to release the latest inflation numbers tomorrow. So let's find out what the predictions are and what the Reserve Bank is going to do to further increase interest rates to try and bring it in line. Always good to have with us on the show for a change. Actually, good to have the good Dr. Azar Jammine from Econometrix, Director and Chief Economist from the organisation. Doc, good to have you with us. Thanks for coming in. Actually, nice to have you not on a Zoom.
Absolutely.
For a change. We're running out of belts to tighten, aren't we? It's getting a bit painful now.
Unfortunately, it's a phenomenon that is not exclusively South African. It's a worldwide phenomenon, resulting mainly from the massive surge in oil prices over the last 6 months, and increasingly now also food prices. Those two factors, due to global events, are surging again, and there's very little that South Africa can do to actually clamp down on. If you look overseas, part of the reason why their inflation rates are even higher than ours is because there's very strong demand. You had massive COVID relief measures being introduced. We haven't had that. Nonetheless, there are these other factors over which we've got no control. You know, if oil prices rise and internationally food prices rise, there's very little we can do to actually stop them increasing here in South Africa as well.
Let's talk numbers for a second. What is the expectation? What does that mean for you and me?
Funnily enough, tomorrow's figure is not the big one. Tomorrow we're going to see inflation probably edge up above 6% for the first time in a number of years, and 6% is a critical level because it's the upper end of the government's inflation target. But the real big jump is going to be at the beginning when we get the June figures towards the end of July, which will show a jump to over 7% as a result of the big increase in fuel prices that we had at the start of this month. And then in August you could get even more, because at the beginning of July now we're expecting another big fuel price jump.
I am laughing, I think because I've resigned myself to the fact that we're all going to be broke by the end of the year. I just get the sense with economists now, is there any good news to being an economist at the moment?
At the moment, unfortunately, not much, other than in South Africa's case, in line with the rise in oil prices, the coal prices are rising sharply, and South Africa is an exporter of coal, so we're getting more for that coal.
So what does this mean? Is someone watching from home at the moment going, okay, so 6.1% perhaps tomorrow, another jump come, I think you said July, fuel price hike in August. What does the interest rate mean for someone watching at home now? What do we need to look at? Is this credit cards, home loans? What is this going to mean for someone watching?
Yes, there's probably very little doubt now that the Reserve Bank is going to increase the repo rate still further again in the middle of July. It's currently 4.75%, which means your prime overdraft rates are 8.25%. I think we could see another 0.5% jump in those rates. The good news, if you want to call it the consolation, is that even at 8.75%, our interest rates will still be below where they were prior to COVID-19, where they were above 10%. So, you know, thank heavens for small mercies.
Yeah, small mercies. We'll take anything we can get at the moment. Is this the best that the Reserve Bank could do? Was there any other wiggle room before they reached a point of increasing inflation?
Unfortunately, no. And in fact, they've been very astute by starting to increase our interest rates at an early stage already, because that preempted inflation running out of control in this country in the manner in which it has done in many overseas countries, where they waited far too long to start raising interest rates.
So when I ask Dr. Jammine to look into his crystal ball, which I know you carry around with you as well, I mean, how much worse could this get? You spoke about, obviously, tomorrow, you spoke about July, August, another fuel price hike. There might be more than that. What is the doomsday scenario in your opinion?
There is a doomsday scenario in the sense that if these inflationary pressures could last longer and carry on increasing, if the oil price were to go, as some experts say, to $150 or $175 a barrel, it could get a lot uglier. But in the interim, the fact that around the world interest rates are starting to rise quite sharply, that may cause the world economy to start dipping a lot sooner. And that is what is needed to start cooling inflation around the world, unfortunately. So, and that's, of course, also bad news because it filters through into impeding our potential to export more in the longer term.
There's always a knock-on effect when it comes to economics, isn't there? Do you foresee, as I say goodbye to you, Doctor, do you foresee that if that scenario where globally things were to start tempering down, cooling down, could we see a drop in inflation, or would SARB keep it where it is?
No, I think inflation itself would drop. I think SARB would probably keep interest rates where they are for a little longer than would necessarily be the case. So I wouldn't look for a big cut in interest rates either, unfortunately. It's a new normal world that we were, we used to be accustomed always to interest rates being above inflation. For a while that wasn't the case and still isn't the case. And we'd revert to that kind of situation.
So it might get worse before it gets better. Doctor, thank you for coming in to speak to us. I'm sure we'll talk again after the announcements. And